"This is the last of them," the announcer jeered. "Barely useful, barely sentient. A relic from a conquered species. 15 seconds. That's all it took for the universe to decide a life was worthless. 15 seconds of mockery, and the chains tightened. The auction floor smelled of burnt ozone and old sweat. It was a cavernous chamber carved into the belly of a decommissioned dreadnought, now a traveling bazaar for the elite of the Vrex Dominion. On the elevated platform stood a lanky, hunched figure, skin like wet ash, eyes dull, movements hollow. The last Dravy slave. They'd been a proud warrior species once. Now, this one couldn't even lift its head as the crowd heckled. Dignitaries from 20 worlds laughed. A Mutkari prince waved a hand. "I'll pay 5 credits. My hound needs a chew toy." More laughter. In the far corner, leaning lazily against a steel support beam, stood a human. He looked wildly out of place. Simple jacket, dusty boots, and a polite, almost bored expression on his face. He wasn't here for entertainment. His name was Commander Elias Ward, though he didn't broadcast it. He let his silence speak volumes. Ward watched the Dravy with careful eyes. While others saw a withered creature, he saw posture trained for combat. Suppressed instinct. And pain. Deep, buried pain that hadn't flinched even under years of humiliation. The auctioneer spotted him and grinned. "Ah, the human. Your species always loved projects. How about this one? He can cook, clean, and die quietly." Ward smiled back, that charming, dangerous smile humans had perfected. "What's the current bid?" he asked softly. 10 credits. Going once. 100, Ward said. The laughter stopped. "Are you serious?" The announcer blinked. Ward stepped forward. "Transfer the slave." "To me." The silence was sharp. Why would a human pay that for a broken Dravy? Ward's voice dropped to a velvet tone that still somehow sliced. "Because I don't see a slave. I see a survivor. And you idiots just gave him to me." A pause. Then the auctioneer coughed awkwardly and waved a hand. "Fine. Sold to the Terran. Enjoy your sentimental waste." The collar released with a hiss. The Dravy collapsed. Ward walked calmly up the stairs and knelt beside him. "What's your name?" he asked. The Dravy didn't answer. His cracked lips barely moved. "Don't worry," Ward said. "You'll remember. In time." He looked up at the sneering crowd. "I assume no one minds if I walk out of here with him?" His tone was mild, conversational. No one moved. They were suddenly aware that this human wasn't here for fun. Ward slung the Dravy's arm around his shoulder, stood, and walked out of the auction. No one stopped him. The silence he left behind was louder than the laughter had been. The corridor outside was cooler, quieter. Ward carried the alien down the ramp into his shuttle. It wasn't military, but sleek and sharp enough to make customs officers nervous. Inside, the ship came alive with soft lighting and clean systems. He eased the Dravy onto a padded recliner and began scanning him with a medkit. Vitals are low. Malnourished. Electroshock scars. Damn. The Dravy stared at him, lips parting as if to ask, why? Ward didn't answer right away. He activated the food dispenser, filled a cup with broth, and handed it over. "Drink this," he said. Slowly. The Dravy hesitated. Then, trembling, he obeyed. Ward leaned back, arms crossed. "I'm Ward. Commander. Terran Recon. You're safe now. At least, as safe as one can be in this mess of a galaxy." A flicker of confusion crossed the Dravy's face. "You bought me. Why?" Ward smiled faintly. "To unchain you." The Dravy choked on the broth. "No one does that." "Humans do," Ward said. "When we're in the mood." Silence hung for a beat. Then Ward added, "You're not a pet. Not a servant. You're free. That word might not mean much now. But it will." The Dravy gripped the cup tighter. His name was buried beneath years of degradation. He hadn't used it since his world fell. But a fragment surfaced. "Riken," he whispered. Ward nodded. "Welcome back, Riken." The ship took off, slicing through the dark with silent precision. Ward charted a course away from Dominion space, then returned to the passenger bay. "Do you know how long you were held?" he asked. Riken shook his head. 16 years. Your kind was declared extinct 5 years ago." Riken didn't speak. Ward tapped the wall panel and brought up a holographic projection of the Dominion sectors. "Slavery's illegal," he said. "Publicly. But loopholes exist. Convenient ones. Re-education. Indentured labor. You were sold on a technicality." Riken stared at the stars. Ward watched him carefully. "I didn't just come for you by accident. Dravi warriors were feared in their time. Tactical minds. Fast reflexes. Loyalty. The Dominion was afraid of what you could become." The Dravi looked up, eyes narrowing slightly. Ward grinned. "Exactly." He sat down beside Riken. "Let me be clear. I didn't buy you because I pity you. I bought you because you are dangerous, or will be again. I don't do charity. I do investments." Riken blinked. "In time," Ward continued, "you're going to stand again. Fight again. Not because I tell you to, but because that's what you were meant to do." He leaned forward, voice low and precise. "The Dominion destroyed your world. Now they laugh at what they think is the last broken ember. But I know embers ignite." The words lingered in the air. Riken didn't smile. Not yet. But something in his shoulders shifted. Barely, but enough. Ward rose. "You'll rest. Then train. Then decide what kind of legacy you want to leave." He paused at the door. "One thing though, don't make the mistake of underestimating humans, Riken. We're polite. We smile. But we don't forget. And we never let our enemies sleep easy." The door slid shut behind him. Riken stared into the dim cabin, his mind stirring with old instincts, sharp edges dulled by time. And for the first time in years, he believed in tomorrow. The medbay lights hummed softly. Riken sat upright now, hands steady, movements precise. It had been 5 days. He hadn't spoken much. But he listened. Observed. Watched Ward move with a soldier's grace. Never rushed, never truly relaxed. The human was always 3 steps ahead. And Riken knew the type. Ward had once been something worse than a soldier. He was a planner. "Vital stable," Ward said without looking up. He was reviewing scans. "Muscle degradation is worse than I thought. Nerve damage in the left arm. Scars from electric prods. But the brain, intact." Riken said nothing. Ward looked at him. "Still quiet, huh?" Riken raised an eyebrow. "Slaves weren't permitted opinions." Ward smirked. "You're not a slave." "Not yet." Ward leaned back. That sounded dangerously close to sarcasm. "You're recovering." Riken's jaw twitched. "I remember how to talk. Doesn't mean I should." Ward stood. "Follow me." Riken hesitated. "I said you're free," Ward added. "But you need to decide what that freedom means. Start walking. Or stay here and rot. Your choice." Riken rose. Pain rippled through his legs, but he moved anyway. Barefoot, unarmored, underfed, yet there was something coiled in his movements. Muscle memory. A wolf remembering how to stalk. They passed through narrow corridors lit by pale strips along the walls. No guards. No security fields. Just steel, silence, and a man who walked like gravity bent around him. Ward stopped at a pressure-sealed door. He looked at Riken. "You fought once. Want to remember how?" Riken nodded. The door hissed open. The room beyond was a simulation deck. Hollow projectors lined the walls. Real-time render environment. One of the best. Riken's pulse quickened. Ward keyed in a sequence. A landscape formed, crumbled ruins under twin suns, jagged metal spires, fallen banners, the battlefield of Kareth Prime. Riken stiffened. Ward looked at him sideways. Recognize it? Yes. You fought here. Lost here. Ward handed him a practice blade. Lightweight alloy. Calibrated haptics. You've still got fight in you, Ward said. Let's see if your body remembers. The holograms shifted. 5 Rection soldiers appeared, programmed with default aggression. They charged. Riken didn't flinch. The first move was clumsy. He blocked too high, stumbled on his second pivot, but the third strike landed cleanly, right across the Rection's ribs. Simulation burst into sparks. The second opponent attacked low. Riken spun instinctively, caught the blade, countered, another takedown. By the 5th kill, he was breathing hard, chest heaving, but his stance had changed. Firmer. Balanced. Ward clapped once. Not bad for a half-dead exile. Riken dropped the blade. This isn't real. It's not supposed to be, Ward said. It's a reminder of what you were, and what they tried to bury. Riken wiped sweat from his brow. You're training me for something. Ward nodded. Correct. For war. No. Riken frowned. Ward crossed his arms. I'm not building a weapon. I'm waking one up. The Dravi looked down at his shaking hands. I wasn't strong enough. Not yet, Ward said. Later, in the galley, Riken ate in silence. Ward sat across from him, nursing tea. You're wondering why I care? Yes. Ward placed the cup down. Terrans were isolated for centuries. The Dominion ignored us, assumed we were backward. Then we showed up, with warships stitched together from scrap, unorthodox tactics, and diplomacy sharpened into a scalpel. He leaned forward. We weren't just fighting for survival. We were testing something. Riken raised a brow. What? Potential. Not just ours. Yours. Others. Species the Dominion broke and discarded. They think the galaxy is theirs. But it isn't. Ward tapped the table. It belongs to the ones they forgot. Silence. Then, Riken asked, so I'm part of a Terran experiment? Ward chuckled. Not an experiment. A reckoning. He stood. We're headed to a place called Vyrek Station. It's Dominion territory, but crawling with spies, smugglers, and cowards with long memories. You'll blend in. Learn. Heal. Riken narrowed his eyes. And after? Ward's tone shifted. After, you choose. Revenge. Redemption. Or disappearance. I don't control that. The Dravi studied him. But you're counting on one choice. Ward didn't answer. He didn't have to. Vyrek Station appeared 2 days later, an orbital scrap heap held together by bad wiring and worse politics. The docking bay stank of plasma exhaust and half-hearted ambition. Rusted banners of the Dominion fluttered like sickly ghosts. Ward and Riken disembarked with no fanfare. The Dravi wore a dark cloak, hood pulled low. His posture had straightened. His eyes, once hollow, now scanned every angle, every face. Ward led him into the underbelly of the station. Past traders, mercs, data brokers, and thieves. No one stopped them. But many looked twice. Eyes down, Ward whispered. You're not ready for notice yet. I'm not afraid. You should be. Power here doesn't come from strength. It comes from knowing who to be strong against. They entered a shadowed alcove, a forgotten maintenance room converted into a tactical hub. A screen flickered to life. 3 faces appeared. Alien. Varied. Hard. These are survivors, Ward said. Like you. They'll train with you. Eat with you. Bleed with you. A tall, feathered alien stepped forward from the shadows in real time. This is the one, she asked. Ward nodded. Riken of the Dravi. The feathered one approached. You were a ghost. A myth. I was a slave. No longer. She held out her arm. Warrior clasp. Riken took it. Something shifted in his chest. Not quite pride, but close. That night, Riken sat alone in the sleeping chamber, staring at the wall. Ward approached quietly. Regret. No. Fear. Riken hesitated. Hope. Ward smiled faintly. Good. That's the most dangerous thing you can carry. He tossed something onto the bed. A Dravi combat token. Engraved with his house crest. Riken stared at it for a long moment. How did you find this? I didn't, Ward said. Someone held on to it. Someone who believed you'd rise again. Turns out they were right. Riken closed his fist around it. The past was a scar, but it could be a weapon too. Good night, Commander. Ward paused at the door. Not Commander anymore. Just Ward. Then, thank you, Ward. The human nodded once. Behind him, the light dimmed, and a ghost of a warrior began to breathe again. The silence following Captain Brenner's declaration could have snapped steel. The whip-wielding Zyraxian handler, a brute of muscle and malice, stood frozen, his primary eye twitching. Around them, nobles, officers, and curious diplomats halted mid-toast, mid-laugh, mid-mockery. And the alien slave, skin marred by years of servitude, stood still as stone, afraid to breathe. I said, Brenner repeated, softer this time, as if explaining math to a child, he's not a slave anymore. The handler sputtered. He was purchased legally under the Uruk Treaty. He belongs to House Vorvik. Brenner gave a tight-lipped smile that didn't reach his eyes. So was rum in the colonies. Didn't make it right. Or permanent. Who do you think you are, human? Brenner turned his gaze toward the towering Zyraxian like a man addressing a child caught bullying a pet. I'm a representative of Earth's diplomatic envoy. And a man who's had a very long week. You know what that means? The Zyraxian blinked. No. It means, Brenner said, stepping forward as the room held its breath, I'm just polite enough to warn you before I ruin your career, your reputation, and quite possibly your circulatory system. The whip dropped. The former slave didn't move. Name? Brenner asked the alien gently. The being looked up, unsure if it was a trick. His voice, when it came, was gravel dragged across trauma. Chell. Not anymore, Brenner said, unclipping a small device from his belt and pressing it into the alien's palm. Your name is whatever you choose from this point forward. You have identity, rights, and recognition under the Terran Code. That makes you, by our standards, a person. Chell blinked. What if I don't know how to be one? You'll learn, Brenner said. We all did. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Somewhere, a noble dropped a crystal goblet. The unspoken rules of the galactic elite had been challenged, and the challenger wasn't roaring or posturing. He was smiling, calm, courteous, terrifying. A nervous Hraxi diplomat stepped forward. Captain, with respect, this show of principle is appreciated, but disrupting House Vorvik's property laws could incite trade consequences. Then Earth will deal with the consequences, Brenner replied. We've faced worse. You should have seen our coffee shortages during the Second Martian Uprising. The Hraxi blinked slowly. That's not a war we're familiar with. Brenner winked. That's because we don't always advertise our tempers. Chell looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Why are you doing this? Brenner didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out a folded cloth, an old Terran flag, weathered but intact, and handed it to the former slave. Because the last time someone asked that on Earth, he said, voice low, they were chained to a dock in Louisiana. Someone answered with gunpowder, letters of emancipation, and 300,000 graves. Chell's hands trembled as he touched the cloth. I don't understand. You don't have to, Brenner said. Just don't forget what it felt like to be unchained. The rest will come. A sudden alert blared over the palace comms. An unauthorized signal had been broadcast off-world. Noble voices rose in panic, scrambling to understand what had just been triggered. Brenner sighed. Ah. Right on schedule. You planned this? The Hraxi asked, horror in his voice. I plan to do the right thing, Brenner replied. What everyone else does next. That's on them. A squad of guards stormed into the chamber, rifles raised, demanding surrender. Before they could finish the word, Brenner casually tossed a small silver disc onto the floor. It beeped once, and then every weapon in the room disabled in a chorus of dead sparks. Electromagnetic pulse, he explained. Low yield. Just enough to ruin your day, not your heart. The room erupted in shouting and panic. Chell clutched the flag tighter. They'll kill you. No, Brenner said, eyes glinting. They'll try. From the far side of the room, a new figure entered, tall, cloaked in authority. A female of the Ketheri order, one of the more morally neutral species in the quadrant. Human, she said, her voice precise. Do you understand what you've done? Yes. You've declared a statement of principle against a recognized treaty. No, Brenner corrected. I've recognized a being's right to exist without chains. If that causes your treaties to unravel, maybe you should examine the stitching. Behind her, aides whispered frantically. Reports were flooding in, small Terran vessels appearing near slave-trading planets, silently disabling security systems and vanishing with captives in tow. Quiet. Surgical. Intentional. You're waging a war, she said. No, Brenner repeated, softer now. We're ending one. She studied him, measuring the weight of his calm. And what of the slave? He's not a slave. He's a person. He'll come with me. Unless he wants to go somewhere else. Chell looked up, a question on his face. You have the right to leave, Brenner said. You have the right to choose. Even if it's not with us. I'll come, the alien said, voice trembling. Brenner nodded. Then let's go. Wait. A voice barked. The Zyraxian handler, enraged now, surged forward. Brenner moved like wind over broken glass. One hand intercepted the whip mid-snap, the other twisted the alien's arm behind his back with practiced, merciless precision. You really should have walked away when I gave you the chance, he murmured. But some people need to learn through pain. He released the handler, who crumpled without grace. Without another word, Brenner led Chell out of the chamber, past guards, nobles, and trembling onlookers. No one dared stop him now. Outside, the human vessel waited, sleek and humming with quiet power. As they boarded, Chell paused. They'll come after you. I hope so, Brenner said. It's more fun when they fight back. Chell looked at the human, seeing not just a rescuer, but something else. A force. A storm hidden in skin. And for the first time in his life, he smiled. The Terran ship sliced through the void like a blade drawn in silence. Sleek. Quiet. Deadly. Inside, Chell sat in the co-pilot's chair, posture stiff, hands folded like he was bracing for punishment. Every soft beep of the console made him flinch. Captain Brenner didn't look at him. He let the silence stretch. You keep waiting for someone to yell, Brenner said finally, not unkindly. You're free, not invisible. Chell didn't answer. Speak when you want, Brenner added. Or not. We're not in the business of breaking silence. We just offer it a safer room. I've never flown, Chell murmured. Then you're overdue. Brenner slid the controls toward him. Take the helm. Chell recoiled. I can't. You can, Brenner replied. You just haven't yet. The alien hesitated, then reached out. His fingers, scarred and unsure, touched the console like it might vanish. The ship didn't explode. Instead, the stars responded to him. It wasn't power, it was participation. He wasn't a tool anymore. He was part of something. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Chell said, I wasn't the only one. Brenner nodded. We know. They're still there. Still chained. Still calling themselves property. They won't be for long. Chell turned, voice trembling. You can't save all of them. No, Brenner agreed. But we'll teach them how to save each other. Chell's hands curled into fists. That's not enough. It never is, Brenner said. But it's where revolutions begin. One voice, one refusal, one person too tired to kneel. They descended toward a Terran outpost orbiting the edge of neutral space. It was small, unremarkable from a distance, but bristled with quiet defenses and deep purpose. As they docked, a waiting figure stepped into view. Human. Female. Stern expression but eyes full of purpose. She greeted Brenner with a nod. You brought one, she said. He walked out on his own, Brenner replied. The woman turned to Chell. I'm Commander Reyes. This is Haven Point. We don't ask questions here. Not at first. Chell blinked. Why? Because questions imply you owe us answers, she said. And you don't owe us anything. Chell followed her down the metal corridor. The walls weren't pristine. They weren't polished. They were real. And along them, faces. Alien. Human. Scarred. Smiling. Portraits of survivors. Reyes led him into a hall bustling with noise. Refugees. Former slaves. Runaways. People laughing, arguing, cooking, crying. Not safe. But free. A tall Drekken waved at him. First meals always on the house. Chell hesitated. Why are they happy? Reyes shrugged. They're not. But some days they fake it. Eventually, the pretending starts to stick. A child of some species Chell didn't know ran past him, giggling, trailing a sparkler in her hand. She wasn't afraid. Not of him. Not of anyone. Reyes looked at him. You're not ready to rest. I can see it. Chell said nothing. She pointed to a nearby room. We have intel. Names. Facilities. Transit routes. If you're going to do something reckless, at least plan it first. Later, inside that room, Chell stared at the holographic map. A grid of pain. Every blinking dot a memory that hadn't yet been freed. Brenner stepped in quietly. You thinking about going back? I'm not thinking, Chell said. I'm remembering. That's dangerous. So was freeing me. Brenner chuckled. Fair. Chell turned. Will you help? Brenner didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied the map, eyes narrowing. House Vorwerk runs 6 primary chains. 5 off-grid, 1 under the guise of a mining contract. We know the locations. We just haven't had someone to get inside. You do now, Chell said. You sure? Chell nodded. I wasn't the last slave. Just the last one they mocked. That ends now. A beat passed. Then Brenner smiled. Then let's burn their chains. Hours later, a meeting convened. 6 operatives, human, alien, even one former bounty hunter. The plan wasn't elaborate. It didn't need to be. The best rebellions aren't born in grand halls, but in small rooms lit by vengeance and clarity. They'd start with the mining camp. Chell knew the routines. The guard shifts. Where the collars were charged. Where the weak points lay hidden beneath alien smugness. They'll recognize you, Reyes warned. I'm counting on it, Chell replied. 1 week later, they landed on the dust-choked edge of the mining moon. Everything looked the same. Gray skies, gray dirt, gray fear. Chell stepped off the transport in plain view, arms bare, throat exposed. Guards spotted him instantly. You're supposed to be gone, one barked. I was, Chell said calmly. But I brought something back. Before they could react, the hilltop behind him lit up, EMP bursts, scrambling comms and security. Then came the drop pods, the flash teams, the unspoken fury of people who once wore chains. Brenner moved like a storm. No speeches. Just efficiency. Stun rounds. Dismantled systems. Freed cells. Inside the main hall, Chell confronted the overseer. The same one who'd broken his ribs a year ago for speaking without permission. The overseer sneered. You think this changes anything? One camp falls, a dozen more rise. Chell stepped forward. Then we'll burn a dozen. You think you're some kind of leader now? No, Chell said. I'm proof that even one broken voice can shatter a silence. He turned, walked away, and didn't flinch when the overseer screamed after him. The camp fell within the hour. Every collar removed. Every datapad secured. Every name catalogued. Back aboard the ship, Reyes handed Chell a datapad. Other camps are already whispering. They're hearing your name. I didn't do it alone. Doesn't matter, she said. Symbols don't need to be solitary. Just sharp. Chell looked at the stars beyond the viewport. They'll come after us. Let them, Brenner said. We're harder to catch when we're already moving. For the first time, Chell smiled without fear. He wasn't just free. He was beginning.